Okay, good. Maybe just tell me, kindly share the link. You can also just WhatsApp me the link so I can share it to other people. Good. Well, it's the second day of the Nakuru Grand Prix. Tough battles were played yesterday. Maybe just to have a quick look at how many people are having maximum points so far. Just the third round has just started. The game started at 8, and in the open section so far, the standings are Matthew Joseph leading with maximum points. Irungu Brian second with also maximum points. John Thorne maximum points. Boyera Felix and Cheriot Eli are the only players in the open with maximum points. Also in the ladies section, we are having Madelta Glenda, Wangari Mary Immaculate, Etha Karanja, Faith Nyambura, Wambui Asta, and Sharon Chalagat having maximum points. The third round, as I had said, just commenced today at 8 a.m. And in the ladies section, Madelta playing against Faith Nyambura, Etha on board 2 playing against Wambui Asta, and Sharon on board 3 playing against Wangari. So actually, only a maximum of 3 people will be having maximum points. When you're getting to round 4, that means that you're having actually some good action taking place. Maybe just to go back to the open section, we might want to have a look at the round 3 pairings. Matthew Joseph playing against Jonathan, Irongo Brian playing against Boyra Felix, Chariot Eli playing against Patrol. Uh, Actually, only 4 players are having maximum points in the open, and 6 players are having maximum points in the ladies category. Let's just jump straight into the games. Stay tuned, guys. Coach Magana will be joining us shortly for live commentary. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Kindly give us a thumbs up, and you can also share um, the link so that we can all have a lot of people joining us today. Yes. Um, Maybe we can just have a look at the first game being played. That's Joseph Matthew playing against Jonathan. I'm not an expert when it comes to D4 lines, but I'm sure Coach Magana will shed some lights on some light on all the openings that arise from White playing the first move D4. I'm sure he's a solid D4 player. All the games I've watched him play are normally D4 lines, so we'll see what he has concerning the D4 systems. D4 C5, sorry, D4 E6, C4 C5 was played, D5 played, E takes on D5, C takes on D5, knight F6, knight C3, A6, A4, D6, knight F3, bishop G4, knight retreats to D2 was played. I think in this position even E3 should work with plans of just developing the bishop there. Castles, that should be a good plan, even though we are trying to this kind of neutralizes our bishop initially, without even having to play e3. We have a very good bishop. Maybe say wanted to bring our bishop to g5, and then I can finally play e3. But remember, we've just been pinned, and Joseph Meitu decided to go for the knight d2 variation. Very interesting. Just now locking up the bishop. I can't really push up the pawn on e3. That's just hanging your queen. I don't know, maybe f3, e4 is playable at this point. Develop the bishop, the knight goes maybe somewhere on c4. Then this other bishop has a clear path, maybe going to g5 or even f4. Let's see. Knight d7, f3 has been played, bishop went all the way back, e4 was played, bishop retreated to g6, and this is the game that you're having right now. Maythew having a very good position as white. You can see that white has a lot of central activity. Also, this pawn chain is very strong to play against. Now you will just notice that all the bishops are very active compared to the initial line where maybe say after bishop g4 is played, f3 would have been played. At least white is having a very good center at the moment. Maybe say reroll the knight to c4, but Matthew has just pushed the a5 pawn. a5 has been played. And hoping today we're having at least some good quality. Yesterday we weren't having the best camera quality, but I'm sure today we're having some upgrades taking place. I mean, we're learning. Maybe as you're waiting for Matthew, as you're waiting for John to play, we can just have a look at the other games. On board two, we're having Irongo Brian Mwangi playing against Boera Felix. Oh, it's a very interesting game going on. I can see just from the looks, White is already having some weaknesses in the pawn structure. Black just played Queen A5. We might just not have a look at how the game went. Again, this d4 lines, d4, knight f6, c4, e6, the names are Indian, knight f3, d5 was played, g3, bishop e7, bishop g2, knight e4, a bit aggressive, short castles, f5, knight c3, c6, knight e5, knight d7, bishop e3, knight takes on e5, pawn takes on e5, knight takes on c3, damaging white's pawn structure, pawn takes on c3, and the queen just went to a5. Now that's the position that you're having. What are the options that white is having currently? You can see that this isn't the best pawn structure you might want to have. Still okay. I mean, not white isn't in trouble currently, because black is actually very inactive. The king still not yet castled. This bishop is just a tall pawn. I mean, it can't do much. Maybe say after b6, bishop goes to a6, then the bishop is going to be a very active bishop. Um, Maybe after castling, this rook has some space here. Some pawn pushes can be made. Yeah, yeah. On board 3, Chariot against Panchol Madol. I'm actually curious to see how Chariot is playing. I think yesterday in round 2, let me just confirm. In the second round, he was playing against Joyce Roy, and he beat Roy. He's actually rated 1712, and Joyce is like 1933. So it's maybe he's one of those upcoming players if he isn't already strong. And let's see how he's playing. Play against the strong Panchol. Panchol actually just got to the 2000 rating bracket again, as I said yesterday, in the top 10. He's in the top 10 in the country. That's in terms of rating. I can see knight e5 has just been played. Maybe we can rewind the game. Today it's like every white player, every player having the white pieces has decided to play the d4 systems. d4, d5, c4, a6, g3, c6, more of a Slav setup. Bishop g2, d takes on c4. a4 was played by early. Knight f6, c5, queen c2, c takes on d4, queen takes on c4, knight to c6, short castles, queen challenges the white queen on d5, knight on d2, queen takes on c4, knight takes on c4, bishop to c5, bishop to g5, short castles, knight to e5. Black really not minding having double pawns. That's after bishop takes, pawn takes, and actually the position kind of favors black. Just maybe making some advancements. Your king can always go here, giving path to the rook, having some lines of attack here. Um, After f5, f4, now starting to um, weaken the white pawn structure. Instead, Chariot didn't take the knight on f6, just decided to play knight e5. Knight takes on e5, knight takes on e5, and it's Panchol's turn to play. An hour and 22 minutes on the clock each. Moving on to board 4, Chiman Garang, Chiman playing against Peter Major Manyang. Knight c6, rewind and see how the game unfolded. Finally, someone playing e4, e4, c6, the Kapukan, knight c3, d5, knight f3, knight f6, e4, e5 was played, sorry. Knight goes all the way back to d7, pawn to d4, e6 was played, knight g5 was played, bishop to e7, attacking the knight on g5, queen h5. I'm not really an opening guru, but this looks like a very interesting opening. Kind of defying the opening principles. Don't move out the queen too early. But remember, there are some lines that the queen just comes out too early. For example, some Scotch lines as black. Black plays something like queen h4. So this is maybe another opening where the queen comes out too early. That's queen to h5 by Garang. Peter challenges the queen by pushing g6, the queen to h6, bishop f8, chasing away the queen, queen all the way back to h3. H6 was played, bishop to d3 was played. Remember, you can't capture the knight because the queen is just attacking the rook. Queen e7, knight retreating back to e2, maybe trying to come to this king side. Also paving way for some pawn push, just stopping this queen from ever coming here, or just developing the bishop here, and it has some lines of attack on this other side. We'll see, we'll see. c5 was played challenging the white's central pawn control. c3 was played. C takes on d4, c takes on d4, knight to c6, short castles, knight to b6, and it's Garang's turn to play. Enjoying some control of the game. Black has a very inactive bishop at the moment. Maybe this knight wants to jump here, but that can easily be neutralized by pushing a3 pawn. By pushing the pawn to a3, you don't want to hang this knight for too long. You might end up maybe even just losing the knight. After something like bishop g7 has been played, then you have to retreat the knight, because now pawn takes to g5 is possible, and queen can't capture the rook here because there's a bishop just attacking, just defending the rook. Maybe just have a quick look at what's happening on boot 5. And that's Mayan playing against Yak Garang. Queen a4 has just been played, just rewinding the game to see how the game started. Knight f3, knight f6, c4, more of the red key opening, e6, g3, now transiting to something like a King's Indian attack. Pawn to d5, bishop g2, b6, short castles, bishop b7, knight to e5, bishop d6 attacking the knight, d5 holding on to the knight, castles, knight to c3, knight to d7 putting more pressure on the knight on e5, knight takes on d7, queen takes on d7, bishop to g5, bishop protecting the knight, rook c1, c6 was played, queen to a4, and it's Yak's turn to play. Let's see. Actually, black capturing here doesn't look like a very good idea, because white can just capture, and now you're having this option, maybe a rook coming to hold on to the d pawn, chasing away the knight. Maybe now this bishop can get here. Remember, you can't push the pawn. There's that. So far, so good. What about on board 6? Just having some new entities in the DGT. I'm seeing what's his name? Nur Mohammed playing against Gisheru John. E4 was played, d6, d5, knight d7, knight f3, e5, c3, bishop e7, bishop d3, c6, bishop e3, knight f6, h3, h6, queen to c2, queen to c7, knight to d2, knight to h5, maybe the knight wants to hop onto the f4 square, challenging the bishop and forcing maybe white to give up the bishop there. Let's see. G4 was played, sorry. The knight retreated all the way back to f6, knight f1, having plans to just bringing the knight to g3, then the knight to f5, c5 was played. White declined the trade and pushed the pawn to d5. c4 was played. Black just trying to get hold onto the queen side. Bishop e2 was played, and now knight c5 has been played. Now putting pressure onto this pawn. Knight all the way back to d2 or knight to g3 are playable. I think maybe knight to d2 is very promising because of f3, and now also attacking, having a double attack on the c4 pawn. If pawn is pushed, I can just push my pawn. If you try that, I can just take it while you can take it back because of that. So now knight can be played. You play there, just challenge you. You take it, I take it. You try have it, I just take it. Check. Not really winning a pawn, and I think white is better. Maybe let's see how Nur Mohammed will play. And also the ladies section, Bodwan. Madelta playing against Faith Nyambura. Let's just have a look at the game. D4 was played, D5, knight F3, knight F6, East E3, bishop G4, C4, C6, queen B3, B6, knight to E5, attacking the bishop on G4, at the same time having some future attack on the C6 pawn, bishop to E6, knight to C3 was played, G3, G6, sorry, bishop D2, bishop G7, rook to C1, A6, knight to A4, and it's black's turn to play. Maybe pushing the pawn can be a good idea. See, push the pawn. The knight can come here and now putting pressure on the bishop. You don't have to retreat your bishop, so maybe just hold on to the position. Maybe knight back or knight being developed fast will work. Well, you can develop this knight because of this pawn, so you have to just retreat this other knight, also attacking that. And if knight takes, sorry, oh, see, if knight takes, then knight takes that, and just get a second pawn. If that, just retreat the bishop. And white is slightly better, but having a pawn structure to worry about. The bishop targeting this pawn and also this pawn. Then this pawn is also going to fall. So queen takes, and if queen takes, knight attacks the rook, rook comes back, and knight gets the pawn, or even just challenge black by just taking with the bishop. And white is actually better in this position. Is having white will be a pawn up and also having a very good structure to play against. This pawn will also fall in the near future. Now, castling really doesn't do much. After bishop takes, knight takes, or I would prefer rook takes. And if the rook goes there, maybe just retreat or even develop, force my bishop to defend the knight, push the pawn.
Good evening, welcome to Pride in Paradise.
Catch this pawn. Sounds like a good plan. And instead, my delta went for the very quiet bishop takes.
At Pride in Paradise, we offer the best conference facilities in East Africa, where we have 19 conference rooms.
We offer both local and international.
Oh, Methu decided he doesn't have to castle, so king goes to f2, has just been played. Really doesn't, Methu doesn't have to worry about some queen b6 move because of the very strong pawn on a5. Bishop e7 has been played by John. And also, guys, just a quick reminder, my guy should be joining us shortly. We're just waiting for him to join us in a few. Some guys are wondering why am I not playing. So I had some other commitments that is today. I'm starting in the afternoon, so I couldn't really postpone my plans, and that's why I didn't make it to Nakuru. But I really wanted to play in this event. We're still having so many events coming up, so you don't have to worry about it. You guys will be seeing me in future. But now the question is, if I'm playing, who'll be doing this commentary work? But we'll see. We'll see. I think I'll be playing in the Kiambu Open. We still have some couple tournaments taking place. We also have the Mombasa Open, maybe later this year. I'm sure I'll be playing in that event also. So yeah, no pressure, no pressure. We have some Grand Prix events to go, so I'm not left out. Can see Matthew with some manual castling. So king wants to f2, Rook went to e1, and now the king has finally gotten to its castling square. That is g1. Mtu unaonekana. Kolayo. Usiguze ini webcam yangu. Anyways, sorry about that. You can see John trying to get some queenside activity. b5 has just been played. I don't know if pawn takes. Does it really do that much? Pawn takes, queen takes. King has to move, or even just maybe just rewind it. Can play here because of this pawn, so the king has to move regardless. Can't really put pressure on this one, can you? Maybe some knight c5 ideas, challenging the knight on e4, but really doesn't do much because of the knight on c6. So Matthew doesn't really have to take, even though it looks like it's creating an isolated pawn that black has to deal with. Well, white also has some problems. That's the pawn on the pawn on b2. The bishop can't really be developed because now they're attacking the pawn. So that's a big issue that white has to think about. And maybe that's why Matthew isn't considering taking the pawn on b5. If you have any questions, if you have any requests, feel free to just share a comment on the comment section and I'll be able to see it. Waiting to see John's response to knight g5. Can see that knight e6 is coming, so black has to look for a way to defend that. Maybe push the knight to c5, alternatively also just move the rook so that if the knight comes there, then just move the queen. But you really don't want white to have such a strong outpost, even though black has just a simple response. Knight bishop all the way back to f5, challenging the knight on e6. And this is actually a very good bishop, just holding off the queen from getting into action. Maybe say something like queen d5, queen d4. The question is, can it be challenged? Yes. Knight has control on the e4 square. Our bishop also has control of the e4 square, and the rook also has control on the e4 square. And how many pieces are guarding this? 1 and 2. So if bishop can be played, but not after knight c5 has been played. I don't think that'll be a good choice for white. Though we're having like 1, 2, 3, and finally 4 pieces. Well, this knight is holding on to this pawn, so really wouldn't have to overload it by now creating some other attacking sequences. Though after the bishop moves, the queen is now guarding the pawn. So maybe says if knight comes here, then playing here doesn't look like a very good idea because knight takes, bishop takes, knight takes, or if pawn takes, then bishop takes, or even knight takes, and this pawn is about to fall. At the same time, now black is a whole minor piece up. As we're waiting for John to play, we can have a look at how the other games are faring on. You can see Batu. That's Irango versus Boyar Felix. Basics has just been played. in an awkward position. I'm trying to hold on to the bishop, and now white has a simple bishop f1, just trying to chase away the king, the queen. The queen can't go back because now this bishop falls, so the queen has to. The only escape square is queen to a5, and now when this bishop gets here, then why black is going to be in trouble. So say queen the bishop to f1, queen has to go to a5. Can we challenge the queen? I think so. If that's played, then it's a very good move. The queen has other ways of trying to defend. You can actually easily get a draw in such a position. Just take and take. Just challenge it. Bishop takes, queen takes, and you're having a pretty drawn position, but this pawn might not be the best pawn. I think with enough attack on this pawn, white might get an edge. And let's see how Brian plays it out. On the other hand, there's Chariot playing against Panchal. Knight d3 with plans of just ensuring black doesn't have the bishop there. If bishop goes to a6, knight takes, pawn takes, bishop takes, pawn takes, and finally rook takes, bishop takes, and rook takes. You can't really come here because of the bishop, so maybe first try chasing away the bishop. The bishop has to retreat. Bishop to d2 is okay. Bishop to f4 also seems okay. Maybe you're giving black some tempi. I think this is giving black an edge. If rook is played, the rook just goes to Charlie. I wouldn't personally prefer capturing this, challenge the pawn. If the pawn is pushed, the bishop has to always come back. Maybe this is just overcommitting your bishop. At the same time, you're also trying to get some activity in terms of attacking this other pawn. Maybe f4, king f2, king e1. Just trying to stop the pawn so that even now your bishop can move to other squares. Maybe also try to undermine the pawn on a7. But h6 has been played. I'm chasing away the bishop. So just knight takes. If pawn takes, then bishop goes there and we get a pawn. Or even a rook. Bishop comes, bishop has to retreat. And now this is the pawn that you're targeting. Maybe if rook comes there, you can try the a rook to b1, having b4 ideas in mind. If pawn takes, rook takes, and if knight takes, rook takes the pawn on b4, and white is better. And now knight c5, knight takes on c5 has been played. Thank you so much, Cecil, for the subscription. And now we've just hit the 70 subscribers mark. Cecil is my Catch buddy. Control versus Chariot Ellie. The game is still dead. Drone. Let's have a quick look at Jack's game. And f4 has been played. Maybe pushing the pawn isn't a great idea. Rook takes, queen takes, queen takes. I'll actually take the back. I think I can push the pawn. Oh no, yeah, I just challenge it. I have to push it again. Just overcommitting the pawn. Another pawn can easily be attacked. Um, hmm. Let's see. I think right now some games might be up, not having a live coverage on what's happening in the event. So, but I'm assuming some games are done. Let's have a quick look at the ladies' game. Madalta are playing Faith, and Faith just played knight to d5. Just want to rewind the game some moves back. And now it's Madalta's turn to play. Faith really didn't want to have the bishop challenge, so she decided why not play knight to d5, which is actually a clever move. So what black is trying to do is black is trying to get this pawn push. If bishop takes, then pawn takes the knight. If bishop takes, sorry, maybe say, yeah, if you challenge the knight, I really can't push the pawn, can I? Yeah, I can push the pawn. Bishop takes, knight, pawn takes first. Oh, queen challenges the rook. Pawn takes, queen takes. You have to castle just maybe to avoid some extra attacks on the king. White can also castle. Then I just grab a second pawn. Rook takes, and this imbalance looks okay-ish for black. Just having three minor pieces for 1, 2, 3, 4. Four minor. Let's say we're having 4 pieces versus 4 pieces. 5 active pieces, and is black a pawn up? Nope. In fact, white is having a superior pawn structure compared to black. Black is having this isolated doubled pawn weaknesses. some queen maneuvers is actually very dangerous. Bishop takes. Queen really can't come here. So thinking of pushing the pawn, but it can easily be taken. Pawn takes, queen takes, but that's hanging a knight. Let's see if Madelta will spot the pawn to e4 move. Sorry about that. I think white currently having a superior position to black. After the pawn push, retreating the knight means giving white an extra pawn. Maybe say if the knight goes here, if the knight comes here, then bishop takes, pawn takes, and queen takes. Can't really do knight takes because of this mate. Um, and if the knight tries to go to this other side, then I can go for bishop takes, knight takes, but that's not as promising as just going straight for knight takes. Rook comes to a7. Develop the piece, relocating my bishop into a very active diagonal. Maybe plans of later on just have this discovered attack on the rook. Also having some trades to make here. We say if white castles, I just take. If white takes, then I just take. Rook takes. Knight. Rook takes. 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 A lot of exchanges, which actually end up not favoring white. So I just rewind. Push the pawn. Bishop takes. Pawn takes. Knight takes. Discovery I was talking about. Rook, knight. Can the rook be back? Not really. We have so many tactics. And we have that. That then you really can't take here because queen takes met by bishop check, king, rook takes, and the queen's gone, and that's just utterly lost. Just a quick reminder, if you're new to the channel, just kindly give us a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to share. And also, yeah, I'm also having another YouTube channel called Chess254 TV. You guys can go check it out. Also, give us a thumbs up. Give us a thumbs up. Also, just feel free to subscribe. Waiting to see if my delta will play e4. What about e4 and bishop takes? That mistake. Pawn takes, still having this pressure here. And this pawn push is actually very vital. You have to really challenge white pieces. If you don't make that move, then maybe say retreating back, just giving white a lot of candy, if I'm to say so. Let's just jump to the open section. Knight g4 has been played. Now it's Matthew's turn. The bishop attacking the knight. Two options: knight e6, knight e4. You have to go knight e4 because you're trying to stop this threat. I was thinking of knight comes here, but after check, then you move and just hit you with a double check, and you're going to get a smothered mate. So this is how it goes. Maybe say knight attack, and the game is mate in 4, check. The king has to come here, check, double check. The king goes back, you sacrifice the queen, the rook takes the queen, that's mate. Knight e4 kinda forced. You can't even make this queen move, can you? I think you can, but not the best decision you want to have. Still, this knight check is just very annoying. Check, king goes back, knight goes back, king goes back. I think knight check, king goes there, maybe just stop, take it, and what am I trying to do as black? There I can get to this pawn, maybe say knight check, bishop, and something like this. Really doesn't do much. An hour and 2 minutes on the clock for Matthew. An hour and 3 minutes on the clock for John. Nothing much happening in the games. You can just be able to look at all the 6 games taking place in the Open. Oh, and now my Delta is clearly winning. Knight just took on d5. I can see most of them open games are just still having kind of equal positions yet. Not that much action taking place. Just waiting to see what takes place. And actually, for those who really follow chess closely, I'm sure you guys might just like some news. What's happening? I don't know if most of you are familiar with a grandmaster called Vasily Ivanchuk. I think he's a Ukrainian grandmaster. He's finally back in the top 100 global rating list. Maybe I'll just look for that news. I think he's back in the top 100. He just played 27 games, gaining at least 40 rating points, and now he's back in the top 100. I've not checked his rating, but I'm sure he's somewhere close to that 2700 rating range. Uh, Actually, for a grandmaster, even gaining at least 40 elos in that span is just practically very hard, because imagine someone is having a key factor of 10. Grandmasters have a key factor of 10. I'm sure you guys are familiar with a key factor. Having a key factor of 10, that means that if you're playing with someone who's like plus 200, or I think minus 200 above you, you're getting like only 2 points. So for you to even try to get to 40, you have to play 20 such players. And sometimes, if if you lose, you get some negatives, but yeah, I think gaining 40 rating points is fantastic. Not to mention just getting back to the top 100 list. Wesley So has also moved up. Now he's 11th in the world, and also now Magnus just as usual staying on top of the list with a rating of 2837. Hikaru is just the closest to Magnus, having 28 or 4. I think they're the only grandmasters who are rated 28 and above at the moment. Gukesh, number 3 right now. He's also the FIDE world champion. They had a very interesting match playing against Ding Liren, and he won. He's now the current champion, but Magnus is the current world number 1, and arguably, to me, the GOAT. Fabiano, should I say kind of dropped, because I think the last time I checked, Fabiano was world number 2, closely following Magnus, and then world number 3, and now he's number 4. And then Abdusattorov Nodibek is number 5, Pranananda impressively number 6 from like number 15, then he went all the way to number 10, and then now he's in number 6. That's good. I'm trying to look for Anish is somewhere here with a rating of 2738. I don't know what happened to the Indian guru, and that is Vishy. Oh, he's actually there. He's having a rating of 2743, one of the big guns, one of the most experienced chess players, if you say, former world champion, still hanging on to the big boys club. He actually just retained his position. The top 5 just retained their positions. Dominguez. Speaking of which, I just looked at the world rankings. I'm asking myself, by the way, who's the current Kenya number 1? Maybe let me just have a quick look at that rating list. I don't know if I'll be able to get it. The Chess Kenya website should have it. Let me just go to Chess Kenya. Faith, I'm thinking about which knight to take. Do you want to take the knight on d5 or do you want to take the knight on e5? Kind of different lines. Knight on d5 is a blunder because that's checkmate in 1 move. And knight e2 is the lesser evil, but still doesn't really do much to your position because of bishop take, pawn takes. And if knight takes, then you end up losing the rook. After rook goes all the way to c8, check, the king has to go to d7 and then just capture the rook on h8. So black kind of in the middle of a dilemma, you've just lost a minor piece. The bishop was actually a free piece. Brian Irongo really pushing Boyra Felix. Just played rook b3, chasing away the bishop. And maybe if the bishop goes to c5, bishop takes, rook takes, and if they at some point exchange the bishops, you're going to have a very interesting rook endgame. So looking forward to that. Chariot versus Panchol, nothing much. King f8 has just been played. Panchol is having double pawns. Chariot look having a very good pawn majority on the king side and isolated pawn for Panchol, but nothing to worry about. The game still drawn. Up knight for bishop, the position is kinda closed. So white enjoys, but such moves are very annoying. If white doesn't manage to play h4 in good time, then bishop here will actually prove fatal. Chiman versus Peter. E takes on d5 has been played, and now knight takes on if on f5 with plans of just cementing your knight on d6. Looks promising. A series of exchanges on the queen side in the Mayan versus Yak game. Now the knight's under attack. Knight has to retreat to c3, running away from danger, at the same time protecting the pawn on a2. Nur Mohammed versus John. Nur having the upper hand currently. And actually, Black isn't enjoying having this bishop because the bishop is just practically a tall pawn. Really can't get any activity. The pawns can't make any advancements because of White's very solid pawn structure and also pawn majority. At the same time, White has a very good knight that can just jump into the spaces. Oh, sorry. But yeah, with enough pressure being applied to the b5 weakness, I think White has some prospects. And King f7 was played. Let's see if Nur Mohammed plays knight to d4. Knight d4 is a good move, trying to just put more pressure on this. But now black just played king f7 to be able to bring the rook on h into some on the h file to some action. That's rook to b8. Just trying to get to the Chess Kenya Federation. I want to see the top 100 in the country. About numbers, players, because why not? Oh, why am I yawning this much? Bishop to c2. And the rook to b8. But I think maybe black is white is trying to look at the queen to this to the king side. Just go here, and what if this pawn is captured? Nothing to worry about. The rook can always go back. Now having this file under control. Members, players, log in. Trying to log into the Chess Kenya website. And now knight d4 has been played by Nur Mohammed. Just looking, actually, I'm just looking at my elos right now. Well, not that bad, but not that impressive. I couldn't get all the rankings. Queen B4 has just been played, and now it looks like black is having a scary attack, but nothing to worry about. Just bishop takes, and the game's good. I think black might have sacrificed the rook to be able to the king's pawn takes, rook takes, pawn takes, queen takes, and now bishop takes can also be played, but white is still having the upper hand. Let's see if Nur Mohammed will play bishop takes the pawn on a4. Now you can see the way the bishops might now have some dangerous activity towards the king side, towards the queen side, sorry, and that's why the king has just castled. But we'll see how the game unfolds. Now my current national rank is 124 and my standard rating is 1757. So I'm assuming maybe say the top rated Kenyan player has to be around 2040. Yes, yeah, I think 2040, 2020, thereabouts. Might even be Magana. What's Matthew's rating? You can actually have a look at Matthew's rating because he's playing in this event. Matthew is rated 1984. Oopsie. Um, who's the top seed? I just saw some South Sudan players having good ratings. 2100 rated players. Yeah, the top seed was Adol Taran having a rating of 2123, followed by Peter, and then Angong, and then Panchol. Actually, yeah, Methu was like the first Kenyan. He was actually the top Kenyan rated player in this event, having a rating of 1984. What's Coach Magana's rating? Maybe I can just have a look at it. Just having a look at Magana's rating. Actually, yeah, Magana is the leading. He's at 2052. Current national rank amongst active players is number one. Current rank on the continent, number 368. That's actually pretty impressive. And there's also an FA slash and FIDE trainer, also FIDE instructor. Yeah, so I think Coach Magana is number one, maybe number two. We can also have a look at Robert's rating. Nur Mohammed still thinking and thinking and thinking about what to do with this attack. Just have a quick look at what's happening on board two. F4 has been played. Just white has started pawn stone on the king side, maybe trying to have some rook activity on this side. G4 has been played. As you're waiting for them, you can just even have a look at Robert's rating. I think Robert might be number two or just somewhere around. Yeah, Robert is actually the current number two rated player with a rating of 2047, just closely following Magana. And he's also having a pretty impressive rating. An impressive continent rank. That's he's ranked 300 and number 382 out of the possible. I don't know how many African players. He's also a candidate master. Um, a rapid rating of 1963, a blitz rating of 1886. And A6 has been played by Boer. Mhm. After A6 was played, takes on A6, takes on A6, bidding the bishop to the king. Does white want to trade off the bishops, not having much of an option? So bishop takes has to be played. And then if rook takes, now you can try and target this pawn. You really can't play bishop takes currently because that's a mistake. Rook check. So if bishop, then this rook follows, and if the king moves, the pawn, the bishop goes, and black is winning. If bishop takes, then rook takes. Well, you white will be trying to get to this pawn, but it is not going to be an easy task. See something like rook here, trying to double up. When you're having the same colored bishops, I think it's correct to conclude that the game will most likely end up in a draw. I think for today we'll just have to cover that. Really sorry. We just got an unfortunate news that Coach Magana won't be able to join us today, but I would really like to appreciate you guys for joining us. Thank you so much for the 70 subs. Also, as shout out to Mr. Isaac, who's our technical assistant, Mr. Dennis, who's actually the one in charge of the DGT boards, and also he's the one who made this live stream a success. And also, thank you, viewers, for staying tuned. Till we meet again. Bye bye for today.